Almost 100 million people were tested for this, and the results will shock you. So there was a lot of mistakes during the past few years. We heard it from experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci and billionaires like Bill Gates, people that steered the United States and the rest of the world to follow this common agenda. Vaccine hesitancy is now much higher compared to back then because studies have proven the harm that they've caused. And this study focuses yet again on C19 and the jabs that many were forced to take. Now, what's shocking is that even more harmful side effects are being monitored. Now, before we really deep dive into this topic, all I ask of you guys is take 1 second, drop a quick like for the video. I totally appreciate that. And I want to thank you guys so much for always taking the time to share these videos. It really helps out the channel a ton. Now, I want you guys to understand that the numbers I'm going to show you, they're not 100% accurate. In the way that the numbers are represented in the study, they're severely underreported due to the small window of time that they provided it for, meaning that there's a high likelihood that the cases where these side effects were seen are much higher. All right, so keep that in mind. So the Global Vaccine Data Network studied 99 million vaccinated people from all across the globe. 10 sites were included across 8 countries, with researchers comparing the observed with expected rate for 13 neurological, blood, and health-related medical conditions. 2 of the most common side effects that were seen as of late are connected to heart conditions. You guys remember what happened to LeBron James' son, Bronny James, right? So they're called myocarditis and pericarditis. Studies of myocarditis show that it predominantly affected young males under 40 years old and caused inflammation of the heart muscles. It's also been proven that this is a major cause for sudden and unexpected deaths. Pericarditis is also fatal for many people, and it causes a swelling in the tissue surrounding the heart. Now, both of these conditions have been directly linked to vaccines made by Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. The numbers show that there was a 3.74-fold increased risk when it came to getting these jabs. But some experts agree that the number is off the charts, meaning that the risk involved for these people were way too high just to risk it. But then again, billions of people across the world took the vaccines for their own reasons. Now, I understand that we all have the right to make our own decisions when it comes to our bodies. But the reality is that this is what the studies are showing us. The data that's being collected from almost 100 million people. And so this makes the margin of error that much smaller. And it's not just heart conditions here. They have now linked these jabs to some serious neurological side effects. This study has confirmed the correlation between a rare brain blood clot disorder and the AstraZeneca vaccine. So it's called the Guillain-Barre syndrome, and it can cause muscle weakness and possibly even paralysis. Now, we have to remember that this study focused on just a small sample if compared to the 13.5 billion doses that were administered globally. It also limited the study to just 42 days after getting these jabs. This means that they're seeing this disorder spiking within such a short amount of time within a much smaller number of people. That's alarming to say the least. That in turn could possibly mean that there are people out there that have been affected by these jabs, but they weren't even reported. And just so you guys remember, AstraZeneca's vaccine was actually discontinued in a number of countries. Makes you wonder why, right? This is because of a spike in cases of cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, or CVST, an exceptionally rare type of cerebral clot. It's so rare that it's only seen in 0.3 to 0.4 people out of every 100,000. But yet, the message remains the same. If you want to be safe from this virus, it's best to get your jabs and the booster shots, right? That's what they're telling us. This is under the premise that the risks are minuscule, that the chances of you actually getting these potentially life-threatening illnesses is worth the risks. However, not many Americans seem to be going with that message any longer. In fact, a Rasmussen report shows that more than half of Americans, or 53%, believe that the C19 vaccines have actually caused excess deaths. These are not my words. This is coming straight from the report. So even if they're telling us not to worry, a majority of the population is fearful of the side effects. We've also heard from the numerous doctors and practitioners that have been silenced for going against the C19 vaccine narrative, which leads many experts to say that it's only a matter of time until we see a massive backlash from the people who were affected by these jabs. They did such a good job of masking what these vaccines could do that back in 2021, a majority of Americans, or 62%, said that the benefits far outweighed the costs. Fast forward to 2024, and it looks like things have changed. But here's what they want you to hear. They want to tell you that some of this research lacks context. The context is that these health problems are rare. And even with the risks involved that could be fatal, researchers argue that there are benefits to these vaccines. The problem is that they weren't completely open to us about it. And so this reminds me of that surprise interview of Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla in Davos, where he couldn't answer even the simplest of questions. And for those who aren't aware, aware, Davos is where the WEF, or the World Economic Forum, often has their meetings and gatherings for determining the direction of the world. So again, going back, Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla in Davos, he couldn't answer the simplest of questions. And that is because they lied to us about the vaccines.
Mr. Bourla, can I ask you, when did you know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission? How long did you know that without saying it publicly?
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Answer that question. I mean, we now know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission, but why did you keep it secret? You said it was 100% effective, then 90%, then 80%, then 70%. But we now know that the vaccines do not stop transmission. Why did you keep that secret?
Have a nice day.
I won't have a nice day until I know the answer. Why did you keep it a secret that your vaccine did not stop transmission?
Is it time to apologise to the world, sir? To give refunds back to the countries that poured all their money into your vaccine that doesn't work, your ineffective vaccine?
Yeah, you have a little bit around it.
Are you not ashamed of what you've done in the last couple of years?
Do you have any apologies to the public, sir?
Are you proud of it? You've made millions on the backs of people's entire livelihoods. How does that feel to walk the streets as a millionaire on the backs of the regular person at home in Australia, in England, in Canada?
What do you think about on your yacht, sir? What do you think about on your private jet? Are you worried about product liability? Are you worried about myocarditis?
We were told that it was safe, but even the CDC couldn't keep that narrative that strong. Back in late 2022, the results of the V-Safe program was divulged to the public after the CDC faced a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. This program recorded feedback from people who received the vaccines. 10 million people signed up and participated in this program. Out of that number, 782,913 people, or roughly 7.8%, reported having the need to go to either an emergency care clinic or an emergency room, or even hospitalization right after getting vaccinated. 25% of them reported that they couldn't even do normal activities after the jabs. Their argument was that there was no way to say that the vaccines caused these reactions, even though the jabs were probably the only thing foreign that these people introduced to their bodies. Now, if you guys remember, there's also been a lot of talk about a possible new disease, one that's supposedly going to be like 20 times worse than what we experienced with the C-19 virus. The question that many experts already have in mind is, where will this one come from? Will it be a known pathogen, or will it come from a lab? Now, I ask that because you and I are aware of how important Ukraine is to the United States. It's a country that American taxpayers have already sent billions of dollars to. It's also a country that has multiple biolabs that are funded by the United States. Russia has made the claim that there are bioweapons inside of Ukraine, something that they have to keep under wraps. This has been debunked by many experts. However, there are still critics who question why we're even funding gain of research anyway in the first place. Many suggest that these labs should be removed and that all the funding be frozen from now on. The fear is that Disease X is probably ready and is just waiting for the right time. But what do you guys think? As far as I know, I'm going to continue to do my research and keep you guys up to date on everything that's going on around us and keep on bringing you guys the truth. And before I go, I want to thank you guys so much for liking these videos and sharing them, and I'll see you guys on the next one.